Art has the task to reveal the truth in its sensuous form. George Hegel.
So personally, I'm ready to take the bet that COVID-19 will be remembered by economic historians as the event which pushed CBDC development into top gear.
This is how it's done. They take advantage of a crisis or artificially create a crisis and change the system when they react to it. While the masses are in panic mode, they swoop in and pretend like they fixed the problems that they created. The masses will accept anything when fearful.
That said, let's also acknowledge that COVID-19 may have mixed consequences. We see COVID-related tracing and tracking everywhere. That might harden attitudes to privacy. And in turn, this could make building digital architectures more difficult, especially across borders.
Your government's going to be in control over how much privacy that you have. Another opportunity right now is supply chains, tracking goods and services across borders.
So how should central banks adapt to that new situation? We should keep focus on providing an environment that fosters innovation while safeguarding the public good nature of payments. That is stability and safety, and Christina has spoke to it.
Benoît is saying that the central banks are securing their role in the Internet of Value. The central banks will be the validators of the Internet of Value and have access to all information. They are the all-seeing eyes on the top of the pyramid.
This starts with providing core infrastructures, enabling settlement in central bank money, which we've been doing since ages, and we'll continue to do it in a digital environment, in a digital world.
XRP Boy found this clip this morning. Pay attention to what Brian Brooks is saying.
Or once USAID realizes that a way to avoid fraud and abuse in war-torn regions is to stop sending dollars and start sending stable coins that can't be stolen.
I believe the next crisis you're about to see is going to be a cybersecurity crisis, and we know what the reaction will be.
It continues with making these infrastructures faster and cheaper. I will not expand on these aspects, some of which are discussed in the forthcoming BIS annual economic report, which will be released later this month.
So be on the lookout for the BIS's annual report coming out later this month.
CBDC. Until recently, most of the proactive work on CBDC was from emerging market central banks looking to improve the convenience and the safety of domestic payments. And looking to support financial inclusion.
This is why Ripple's involved in all the exotic corridors.
Like the United States, the euro, the yen, the dollar, the RMB, I don't see the consumer use case for crypto anytime soon. Now, I say in kind of the G20 markets because there are markets that have already lost control of their currency where...
Like Benoît has said, the COVID crisis is speeding everything up.
But now we see central banks in advanced economies closing the gap. And it's a slightly different story. They fear that a declining demand for cash might leave citizens without direct access to central bank money.
So advanced economies are now progressing with CBDC.
CBDC pre-COVID, as shown by the BIS survey that we issued in January, we could see that 80% of central banks were doing research on CBDC, and that's prior to the virus.
80% were involved with CBDC. Ripple was involved with all of them.
And it has to be a political discussion involving parliaments, involving the broader public, because money is at the heart of sovereignty, and it has to be a very broad conversation.
The banks have already built the system. We are waiting on government. First, the G20 is going to figure out cross-border regulation, and then local government will take it from there.
And answers will be different across countries, across jurisdictions. So there is no such a thing as an off-the-shelf CBDC.
As economies collapse, government's options are limited, and the last resort will be crypto assets.
Will existing payment pipelines be used to store and transfer CBDC, or will the central bank set up something new from scratch? One possibility is a payment stack.
The data layer, the payment layer, the settlement layer. Xcurrent, XVIA, XRapid. Ripple had different solutions for each layer.
Based on strong open banking principles, including a public identity rail.
This is why PayID happened. Ripple is building the whole system. Aspects of the Ripple built system will be gifted away. This is why Ripple software is open source and currency agnostic. XRP is the secret sauce to RippleNet, and it's a lot bigger than what meets the eye.
The ability to identify citizens efficiently, that is the first hurdle. So the identity rail is really at the core of what we can achieve when we do CBDC.
This technology will be used as a tool for government control.
Too often discussions on new forms of money consider the world to be a monetary tabula rasa, starting everything from scratch. But payments are the spinal cord of our economies. Vast sums of money flow every second, every millisecond through these pipelines, and they should be handled with caution. I very much believe that central banks will introduce CBDC, but I also believe that they will be cautious, incremental, and collaborative.
Ripple, the company, has been working with the system since 2004.
And talking about collaboration, in the past, we've designed very robust and well-functioning domestic payment systems in isolation. And
Ripple has been involved. They have helped build the infrastructure for a new economy. We're going to watch this one crash and burn and a new economy emerge. It's the Internet of Value, and interoperability is key here.
Kind of hard to interconnect. I mean, I've spent 8 years at the ECB working first on SEPA and then on the integration of the European payment landscape. And there is a huge amount of fragmentation, even within the EU, where you have this common.
We just link up these real-time payment systems and be done with it.
Yeah.
Right? Why do we need Ripple or cryptocurrencies?
I think it's a great question. I'm going to answer it in two different ways. First, I'm going to say, I imagine a number of people in here have a PayPal account and you probably have a Venmo account. Have you ever tried to move money from Venmo? PayPal owns Venmo, just to be clear. Have you ever tried to move money from Venmo to PayPal? You can't do it. You have to go Venmo back to your bank and then back to PayPal. The reason I start with that answer is, in a perfect world, what we see an interoperable payments network world.
The real-time payment systems have been set up and Ripple has been involved. Faster Payment Task Force, the Clearinghouse, TIPS, they've all been involved.
The body of law and the common rule of law. So if we build anything new, we should not repeat the same mistake twice. And we don't want CBDC to be an additional source of fragmentation in the international monetary system. Common standards and interoperability from the start will help.
So the real-time payment systems are ready across the globe, and then they're going to be bridged with XRP. The systems are set up for crypto assets for CBDCs as well. The more progress we see with CBDCs, the closer we are, because the payment rails are set up for them. So that means the regulation for CBDCs will also include crypto assets.
Where all payment networks are interoperable. The world we live in today, and I'm using PayPal and Venmo as the example, is highly not interoperable. What you're talking about, the U.S. Fed and the faster payments, that's a domestic clearing. We actually think, yes, that would be fabulous. Actually, Ripple was one of the kind of leads on that task force. At some point, though, you have to go.
He's just said Ripple was one of the leads on that task force. He's talking about the Faster Payments Task Force and the real-time payments platform that the clearinghouse set up.
From the U.S. dollar to another currency. There are examples, as you described, in the Nordics that are coming together in small pockets. The question is, can you do that across hundreds of countries, or a couple hundred countries, and thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of different payment networks? We see a world where today the Internet of Information uses TCP/IP and HTTP to enable interoperability across information networks. How do we enable interoperability across payment networks so that if I want to go from my BAML account,
Bank of America, Merrill Lynch,
to Paytm, the leading mobile wallet in India, and it's Mother's Day, and I send my mom $100 US, that I can do that with no big deal. Today, to send that $100 to my mom in India, would be very expensive and very uncertain as to how it would ever get to Paytm, the largest mobile wallet provider in India. So I view those as all positive developments.
So first, the BIS Innovation Hub, which I'm running here in Basel and also in Singapore, in Hong Kong, and in Switzerland, doesn't have a mandate to deliver a CBDC, but we are exploring possibilities through our own proofs of concept across several dimensions of CBDC. So we are exploring the building blocks of CBDC.
Exploring CBDC use case but does not necessarily have a CBDC.
Such as how to bring central bank money into a tokenized environment, how to build a digital payment stack, including this public identity rail, which as I said is so important. How do we support cross-border interoperability of CBDC?
How to advance cross-border. The private sector, Ripple, has been building. They're not up to speed. They're going to adopt Ripple's solution. Ripple has already built this. They have the leverage.
Are chairing a central bank digital currency group, which includes the Bank of Canada, Bank of Japan, ECB, Federal Reserve, Riksbank, and Swiss National Bank.
Ripple and R3 are tied to every one of these central banks.
The BIS is an observer to that. We are expecting to report to governors by October, so say by the annual meetings of the IMF and World Bank, on how and based on which principles CBDCs might be developed. And I say CBDCs is an S because, again,
Benoît just said they're going to report to the IMF and World Bank in October.
Or once the IMF, for example, starts using cryptocurrencies as part of their toolkit for development finance or for crisis management, or once you...
To conclude, that COVID-19 has accelerated the digitalization of our lives. It is accelerating the development of CBDC by central banks, but irrespective of the speed at which CBDC is arriving, central banks know that they have to deliver it safely. And I stop here, and I'm ready.
Ripple just bought Algrim, which is an Icelandic company. You guys are doing bolt-on acquisitions, right?
Yep.
And
so we bought, well, the first 4.5 years I was at Ripple, we didn't buy a single company because my attitude was focus, gain traction in what we're doing.
Ripple secured a spot in the next economy.
Like maybe when the dot-com bust happened, the strongest used that as an opportunity to acquire things and add things on. We talked a little about, I've always been enamored with Amazon and kind of watching how they grew during that time. I certainly think where Ripple is, we're in a very strong financial position, not just from the investments we're making, but we also made 2 acquisitions in the last few weeks to kind of, it was both small acquisitions, but to kind of bolster the team and take advantage of the quote unquote crypto winter.
We focus on price, but Ripple's strategy is getting stronger and stronger. Ripple secures a spot in the next digital economy and starts to acquire crypto firms and develops the XRP ecosystem while crypto is undervalued. When we go back to fair value, Ripple has developed the ecosystem for cheap. Once the state has been founded, there can no longer be any heroes. They come on the scene only in uncivilized conditions. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. I sacrifice a lot of time and energy creating these videos. If you enjoy them, please consider joining my Patreon. I usually release videos one day early on Patreon.